Hello there. Today I'm going to be showing you how to get started in building an Excel add-in using Visual Studio 2019. So to get started, we're going to go to create a new project. And then this will bring us to this page. Now I've already been working with this quite a bit to figure some things out, and I've had a lot of trouble with it, which is the main reason I'm making this. So I have everything already loaded in, but if this is your first time and you've never done anything with Visual Studio Tools for Office, you're going to want to go down to the very bottom and install more tools and features. All right, and we'll just let this load here. All right, so now it's going to bring up this page where there's going to be lots of other IDEs that you can download to do some pretty cool things. I am just going to stick with this right here, Office/SharePoint development. So this one will allow you to build add-ins for Excel, PowerPoint, Word. I don't really know much else. I know quite a bit about Excel, but I've done some Excel VBA, so that kind of makes sense to me. I don't even know what a macro in Word would do or PowerPoint. That might be something to look into in the future, depending on how far I go with this series. But for now, I'm going to stick with Excel because I think that that would be the most useful for most people. So you're going to click this. Mine's already checked. But when you check it, it should pop this up, Visual Studio Tools for Office, VSTO. Then there's going to be an install. So what that's going to do is there's going to be an install button if you've never had it. And then I'm going to close. You would then, I believe, launch. So we'll try that. We'll launch this here. And then, okay, now we have this. I am going to close out some tabs here. All right, so here we are in Visual Studio 2019. We're going to hit create new project, and now you should have VSTO loaded in. We're just going to scroll through here. You could search, but searching takes a very long time. And we're looking for Excel VSTO Add-in. Now there's going to be a Visual Basic and a C# version. I'm going to be sticking with the Visual Basic version since that is what I have been able to get to work. I'd eventually like to learn how to do the C# one, the implementation, because there are some really nice features in C# that I don't know if Visual Basic has for stuff like Laplace transforms. That's going to be later in this series when I talk more about some of the computational methods that I'll be using this for. Okay, so we have an Excel web add-in, not quite VSTO add-in, but that's the C# version. And I think we're getting close. Okay, Excel VSTO add-in Visual Basic. What I would do is I would pin it up here, but I'm just going to click through, and we're going to call this one Excel repository, just because this is a basic. I'm hoping that I can save this so that once I get the implementation down, I can just keep reusing this implementation. This implementation is actually has been quite a task. Sorry, it canceled out when that closed. Okay, here we are. And now we are in our Visual Studio developer. So what we're going to do here is right click on our project name here, not the solution, the one right below it. And then we're going to go to manage NuGet packages. And what we're going to install here is a package called ExcelDna. It's awesome. It does everything that you would want it to. So we'll type in ExcelDna. And we want the add-in. So we'll install the add-in. Let that go. We want the integration in the add-in. Perfect. All right, great. Now we're going to go back here and we're going to go into installed. Okay, they both installed. Great. Go back to browse. These should have green arrows. And we're going to go to Intellisense, ExcelDna Intellisense. It's the bottom one. If you're right at the top, we're going to hit install. Yep. Okay, awesome. There we go. And we don't need to do anything on this page, but we do need to right click on here again, hit the add, and we'll go with a new item. What we want is a module this time. And then what we're going to do is we need to import the libraries that we got. So imports, and then ExcelDna.integration imports ExcelDna.Intellisense. So what integration is going to do is it's going to allow us to create functions that we can use in Excel, just as though they were built-in functions or made in VBA. And what Intellisense is going to do, it's going to allow us to give those descriptions to make them easier for people to use. So we need to make this module public. So public module. And then to start, we have to initialize that it's an Excel function. So you use the triangle brackets, Excel, and we want function. Great. And now what we need to do is we'll say public function, and we'll just call this one quest. And okay, now that happens, see how this looks black and this looks gray. This one up here is now imported and being used, and this one is not. And that is all right. So in our function, we can now give it a description. Let's say description. And for this description, we'll just do test. Okay. And then in here, we will create the variable, and let's do name as string. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to return hello and name. And we'll do that. Let's make it grammatically correct, I guess. And then we can now, just like we had a description for this function, we can actually do that with the argument. So we will do square bracket Excel argument, and we will do parentheses, description, your name. Okay. So now what happens is when we run this when we hit start, it's going to pull up an Excel workbook, and if you type equals quest as though it's a built-in function, it should give you the description test. It should give you the description of the variable name, your name. The only problem is that's not going to happen until we implement our Intellisense. So I'm actually going to go at the top just to make it easier, and what we're going to do here is we're going to do public class install Intellisense. This was the one that took me probably 30 different starting overs to finally figure out how this worked, because I got it to work once and I couldn't figure it out. So we're going to do implements. Well, I didn't get it right the first time. It took me about 10 to get it right because I kept just destroying it, and then I had to completely start over. But this is going to be Excel Add-in. Then when you hit enter, it's going to auto-populate the rest. So here we're going to say, not integer, Intellisense server dot install. And what this part of the program does is this is actually, and we're going to do uninstall. This says that when you open up the Excel, when you start the Excel add-in, it's going to install the Intellisense server. And when you close it, it's going to uninstall it. If you don't do this, it's not going to work. You won't ever install Intellisense, and it will always be gray. So watch this. If I do this, Control X, it's gray. It's not being used. But now that I did that, it worked. Okay. Great. Now let's start our program. So there were build errors. Would we like to continue? Don't worry, this isn't a bad thing. This is to be expected. This is another huge error I was running into. We have to go back into the NuGet repository, click on this, Excel add-in, and we're going to uninstall it. For some reason, when you have the ExcelDna add-in and the Intellisense server and the integration, it doesn't like to work. So now when we hit start, it will load us up. All right. Oh my gosh. we will try installing it again. I swear, this is the second time I've tried recording this video, and the first time it did this. Then I went and tried making a new program without recording it, and it worked. And now I come back and it's doing the same issue. All right, we'll try this. Oh my God. Okay. We are going to try again. This time, I'm going to call this one. What should I call this one? I'll call this one Lucius test. Maybe it has something to do with naming it Excel, because every time I've named it Excel, add in Excel this, it does the same thing. So this time we're going Lucius test. Name it whatever you want. Don't put Excel in the name. I don't know if that's the issue. We're going to try this again, and we're going to just do it right now. Everything goes the same as before. Let's manage our NuGet packages, but we're going to do things a little out of order from the last time we did it. Okay. Let's see here. Gonna have to do that again because sometimes it doesn't like to work. Right click on the name of the project. Good, nothing installed. Now we want ExcelDna, Excel Add-in install. All right. We're not going to do the Intellisense yet. We are not going to do Intellisense. Okay. Now we will create so add new item module and imports ExcelDna.integration. Excuse me. All right. So this time we're going to call it Excel function. And we're going to say, we'll just do function quest name as string. And then we will return just name. We're doing this as quick as possible. Let's see how quick we can rock this one out. And we need to make that a public module. And let's start. Okay, this is good. Microsoft Office has identified a potential security concern. We want to enable this add-in for this session only. File blank workbook equals quest. Okay, great. Great. I think that might be the issue. Okay, so let's see here. Now we will imports ExcelDna.Intellisense, and that's not going to do anything because we still have to install Intellisense. So we go back over to NuGet, install Intellisense, and it's installed. So now, great. Intellisense. Perfect. It is now there. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create that public class, and we're going to call it install Intellisense and implements iExcel add-in, and we will hit enter and it auto populates again. Intellisense server dot install Intellisense server dot uninstall. Okay, now we're just going to give this a description testing and start. There were build errors. No. go back in here. We'll try it from the installed section. Click on Add-in, Uninstall. And okay. Okay, so this will turn uninstalled. I've had it work with that. That is okay. Okay, great. Everything looks good here. Let's try running our program. Okay, enable this. So file blank workbook equals, we called it quest testing. Oh my God, don't save. Hello there. Today I will be teaching you how to start making Excel add-ins by using Visual Studio 2019. Visual Studio tools for Office. This is not the first time I've tried making the video. In fact, I just tried making it twice before now. It didn't work, so I'm making a very concise video with exactly how it works. So now that you've opened up Visual Studio, we will hit create new project. Now, if you've never done this before, you're going to have to install VSTO. So scroll down all the way to the bottom, install more tools and features. And we'll wait for this to load. Almost there, getting things ready. Sorry if I sound impatient. This is actually the fourth time I've tried making this video. And every time, well, the first time I had a completely wrong issue. And this last time tonight, I've tried twice just now. And I think this time it's going to work. So what we do here is make sure that Office SharePoint development is checked. That will allow you to make add-ins for Word, PowerPoint, SharePoint, Excel, everything. And then it's going to bring up this side here and make sure it's checked there. Then there will be an install button, close, and then launch. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up a new Visual Studio so I can actually close out the old one. And in this one, what we're going to do is we are now at the top. Scroll down. It's going to be very close to the bottom. There we go. It looks like, I don't know, 5/8. No, I'm sorry, not 5/8, 7/8 of the way down. About maybe. Excel VSTO add-in for Visual Basic. We're going to double click that and we will name this YouTube test. Do not put Excel in the name. I don't know if that's an issue, but every time I've tried putting Excel, like Excel add-in, Excel test, whatever, it doesn't work. Do not put Excel in the name. I don't know if that's an issue. Just avoid it at all costs. Now we're going to hit create. So now while it's loading, so you're going to hear me say, this is an issue I had. This is an issue I had. There's not much for resources on this. So that's the main reason I want to put this out is if you're at all curious in this, this is going to be your go-to guide. I'm still learning about this. And whenever I figure out something major, I will be posting about it to make your life easier if you want to make any sort of Excel add-in. So now we're going to right click on this here, our VB project, not on the solution, not on anything below, right here on the Solution Explorer part right there. And we're going to go to manage NuGet packages. We're going to be installing a couple of packages here. So nothing's installed right now. That's good. And we're going to do ExcelDna. And we want the add-in. So install the add-in here. And we want integration and add-in to come with it. Great. Hit OK. So this is one of the issues is I think you have to do it in this order. So just follow this step by step and it will work. Well, it should work. So now that we have this page, that's great. We can come back here and check, go into installed, great, ExcelDna add-in, integration, perfect. Now what we're going to do is right click here again, and we're going to add a new item. And this time we'll do a module. So now we have to import ExcelDna.integration. And we need this module to be public so that Excel can access it. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to create a function. So to do that, we have to tell Visual Studio that this is an Excel function. So we'll call it Excel function. And what we're going to do is we are going to we're going to declare it as a function, then we're going to give it a name, and we'll just call this YouTube test. And for an argument, we will give it name as string. And now that you see that, see how this has now, so if I were to Control X, it looks like it looks faded out. And when I do this, now it looks as though it's there. That means that this has been successfully implemented and is being used, and it's actually coming from that right there. So that's what's using Excel integration and considering this a function. Ooh. And now what we're going to do is return, and we're going to just say hello and name. So now our Excel function is going to, you put in your name and it's going to say hello, your name. So we'll hit start, and then if you type anything in there, it's going to return it. So hitting start is going to build our project, and it's actually going to open up Excel. So I don't know what happens if you don't have Excel on your computer. I think it's actually running it through the Excel installed on my computer. If you don't have it, I would recommend going and getting it. You can probably get it for pretty cheap, especially if you're a student. Okay, and now it's going to do this. So it gave us a security here. I'll shut this down. I forgot to mention that. So we'll hit start, and it's going to load up Excel. Excel takes a long time on my computer because I've built so many add-ins. It's got loading 13 add-ins. Okay, so it gives you this security notice. It's just saying that the add-in that we're running could be potentially hazardous. So we're just going to enable this for the session only. And then we'll hit file and a blank workbook. And so we'll hit equals to access our function and YouTube test. And we'll put in my name. What is going on here? YouTube test. Okay, we're having an issue there. I don't know what's going on. Don't save. So now it's going to pull us back here, and let's try to figure out what's going on with this. How about just return name? I've never had an issue with a value. I wonder. We'll try something. So we'll enable it and then go blank workbook, YouTube test, and Lucius. Okay, what happens if, because it's a string, do we have to declare it as a string? Yes. Okay. So that's the issue. Nothing wrong, but because we declared it as a string variable, when you type it in here, it's actually not a string. I think it's a variant. So if you have something that uses a string, make sure you put the parentheses on it, and it will return my name. Okay, great. So now our function works, but it's not very helpful because if you type in equals YouTube test, it doesn't tell you what you're supposed to put in there. So what if you have like a ton of really complex variables that you have to put in, and the order is just other people might do it some other way, or there's just a lot going on. Well, that's when we're going to need this down here. So go back to browse in your NuGet packages and ExcelDna Intellisense. And we're going to install that. And we're good. It's installed. We'll go back here and we will import ExcelDna.Intellisense. Okay, see how it's faded here? That means it is not being implemented properly. And this is probably the biggest issue I have ever come up with. What we need to do is we need to create a class, and we will just call this installs Intellisense. And what this is going to do is we're actually going to install Intellisense when we open up the add-in. So implements Excel Add-in. And when you hit enter, it's going to auto-populate this. And it's as simple as IntelliSense server.install. And seriously, this is the hardest part of the whole thing. IntelliSense server.install. Oops, sorry, uninstall. Because what this is basically saying is it's going to say, when you open up the add-in, we're going to install IntelliSense. When we close it, we're going to uninstall it. It's as simple as that, but now see, we're using it properly. And we're going to run into an issue here, but that's good. So here's where our last issue comes in. We should be scot-free after this. There were build errors. Now, I don't know what it is, but there's something wrong with when you try to use the add-in with Intellisense. They don't like each other. So we'll go in here and we'll go to ExcelDna.Add-in, and we're going to uninstall it. Okay. Okay, it's gone. Great. So this should work, but what we're going to need to do is to test it, we have to give this function a description. So in your Excel function, you can actually give it a ton of these different properties. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to use, this is going to be the most common one used, description : equals, and we'll just say this is a test function. And then there we go. So now what's going to happen is when we pull up our function, it's actually going to tell us whatever the description is. So it's loading, crossing our fingers here. Okay, so far good. Potential security concern, enable it. We'll go to file, blank workbook, and YouTube. This is a test function. Okay, so now it's working. We're good. You can develop from here. That's all you got to do to get started. And that's the extent of what this first video is going to be. Okay, so now once you've started actually using it, it's going to do this. The application is in break mode. Whenever you close it, just hit stop debugging. Okay, so now what we can do is we can actually go in here right in front of the name. We'll do triangle brackets and we'll say Excel argument. So it's basically the same thing, except now this is for the argument. And so now we can add a description and we will say your name. And now we'll go back to hello and name. Okay. So now what it's going to do is it's going to return this text and this, and we will add in an extra space because we wanted to say hello, comma, space, then name. And we will go in here and we'll hit start, or you can also hit F5 to start debugging. I'm not great with my shortcuts yet. As I get better with programming, I'll probably start using them more. In Excel, I use the shortcuts all the time, the hotkeys. It's so awesome. Again, enable this add-in. And then file, blank workbook. Okay, and now what we're going to do is YouTube test, and now it says this is a test function, and then it tells you what this variable is, name, and then it says your name. So it's a hint to help you out. And what you can actually do is let's see here, don't save. All right, and we'll just pick a good one here. We'll pick what seems to be everybody's favorite. And this, I'm just doing this to show you a little bit more. So how to make sulfuric acid. There we go. And get shareable link. So now if we do that, there we go. It pulls it right up. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to add some help. Let's say that your function just isn't helpful enough. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say help topic equals, and then you can put in your link right there. All right, now let's debug again, and let's see if this helps us even more. And like I said, you can develop from here. You can just follow this formula of creating more functions from here. It's awesome. That's how it's going to work. I'm just showing you some more functionality with the functions. Equals YouTube test. And I don't, oh, here we go. So what that does is now the help is actually there, I believe. Yep. Okay, that's super cool. I actually haven't tried that yet. But so what it does is it puts the help. Oh my goodness. I'll X out of that. Oh, it's in break mode, I guess. We'll stop it. But so it'll actually turn the name of the function into the help, the link to the help. So um, I hope you found this really helpful. I hope it didn't get too long. What I'm going to do is I would like to post this onto GitHub as a repository you can download just to make it easier. But I mean, this is pretty easy now that you have the process. Follow it. Now that I know it, I think I can continually make them without running into the issues I was before, but you never know. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and please do something awesome, like make a really cool Excel add-in with this. So thank you.